All right, welcome everyone. We'll begin with Kurt, and then we had some unfinished business, but maybe it's replaced by some other unfinished business. But Kurt and our constitutional minute.
Amendment 20.
Women
Go for it.
What is it?
suffragette?
No,
That was 19, we did that
Yeah.
last week.
Oh, I wasn't here.
No, was it
Or is it-
20
The
or
terms
21st?
of the president and vice president shall end at noon on the 20th day of January. The terms of senators and representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January. Sorry, I didn't bring my glasses. The years in which,
Will that help?
yeah, I might.
Such terms would have ended if this article had not been ratified, and the terms of their successors shall then begin. Want to do the next one?
Yeah, I can do it. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year. Each meeting shall begin at noon on the 3rd day of January, unless they shall by law appointed a different day. If at the same time, this is section 3, if the same time fixed for the beginning of the term of the president and the president-elect shall have died, the vice president-elect shall become president. If a president shall not have been chosen before the time fixed for the beginning of his term, or if the president-elect shall have failed to qualify, then the vice president-elect shall act as a president until a president shall have qualified.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either, but we can only assume that they'll have another election. President shall have qualified. And the Congress may by law provide for the case wherein neither a president-elect nor a vice president-elect shall have qualified, declaring who shall then act as president, or the manner in which one who is to act shall be selected. Such person shall act accordingly until a president or vice president shall have qualified.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you don't understand what qualified is, you can't understand any of this.
Yeah,
I think the qualification to
It
being a
means-
president, you have to have an age.
And
You have-
age, AGE?
Yeah, you have to be 30
Well,
or
wouldn't you have to do
35.
that
Yeah.
with the election?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
No, you
well, when
haven't,
you say
yeah.
qualified to run,
Oh.
and you also have to be a naturalized citizen,
No,
born,
not
natural
president.
citizen,
Yeah,
born in the
born
US.
in, yeah.
So maybe that's what they're meaning.
Yeah, but the timing is what I'm confused about. But why wouldn't that have happened before they ran, as opposed to getting elected and now you have to qualify? That's what I'm
Yeah.
confused
Well,
about.
that
Does not
and
make sense.
That's ripped from the headlines. That's what January 6th was about. Okay, so
Well-
you don't qualify until the electoral votes are counted by Congress.
Oh.
So in the states, we do the counting and we know who, we presume we know, but if an insurrection, can I call it insurrection? Or
Yeah,
was
it
it,
was.
was it a happy day party? Was it a
Absolutely.
celebration party
Right.
and everybody had good intentions? If something should interfere with the electoral college certification by Congress, as almost did, then that would lack qualification.
Oh, okay.
That's why
It makes sense to me now.
Trump was saying that, the vice president has to do his job and remove
Right.
qualification.
well, section 4, it kind of talks about this. The Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the House of Representatives may choose a president whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them, and for the case of death of any of the persons with whom the Senate may choose a vice president whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them.
Okay, so can I ask a question right now?
No.
So they separate the House of Representatives from the Senate, and to me, it sounds like they're saying the House of Representatives will choose the president, but the Senate chooses the vice president? Is that right?
I believe so. I believe
That's what it looks
and in
like.
fact, there was a president, or it was, the word Hannibal comes with Lecter, but it's not Hannibal Lecter, but Hannibal somebody. There was, and I think it was John Quincy Adams, and ultimately was chosen by Congress, not by the people, because there weren't sufficient electoral votes. That's my recollection.
Learning.
But more interesting is the date in the year, not the year, but the date in the year that Franklin Roosevelt was sworn into office was
March.
March 4th, right? March
Well,
4th.
what happened in
Until this amendment passed, and then it was changed to January 20th.
Yeah, 'cause the 20th Amendment was ratified January 23rd, 1933.
Yeah, yeah. So,
And that's one of the biggest arguments people have about, or for multiple parties. Because within our electoral college, if you had 3 or 4 people running, and no one got to the magic number of what? 370 for the electoral college, then Congress gets to select.
Yep, the House of Representatives, yeah. But that's why, is the two-party system better or not, or will it ever change? It'll always be two parties.
Electoral college.
Yeah.
Just have our votes, you know.
But just like birthright citizenship or anything else, it's in the Constitution. To make it change, we need the ratification by Congress, of course, and 38 states need to ratify it, and it ain't ever gonna happen. No matter
Keep
what.
knocking it back.
No matter how.
Anytime it comes up, they knock it back.
Yeah, yeah, but the electoral college is, they are in the Constitution, changing it. And the smaller states are not, that have an outsized power, are not going to agree to it. They're-
Almost like
They'd give up their
immigration,
power.
they enjoy the political push and pull
Yeah, yeah.
of it all the time. Like,
Yep.
don't solve it.
Section 5 of this is sections 1 and 2 shall take effect on the 15th day of October following the ratification of this article. And section 6 of the article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission.
So
Yeah.
they expected a fight. sounds
Yeah.
like.
But that 7-year clause is what kept the Equal Rights Amendment. Is that, is it still alive, or does it have to be redone because the 7 years has passed? And
But it was never
That's
ratified through Congress.
Right, but
Which
there
is
are
why
people who
it's
say
extended.
that the state legislatures that have approved it, their approval is still good. But then those who argue says, no, 7 years have passed, it has to go back.
Right.
And the question is if it and I don't remember, did it pass in Florida? But if it went back to today's legislature in Florida, would the Equal Rights Amendment pass?
Absolutely
Absolutely
not.
not.
No, no. And so,
So you still have assholes in charge.
yeah, we did.
Sorry.
Yeah, actually, when it passed, we didn't have assholes in charge. But now, somehow, the assholes have
People
taken
of
over.
different opinions.
And yeah, people have different opinions, okay. And,
Yeah, some of them are assholes.
There are.
Do not disagree.
Yeah.
You want me to leave?
That's your decision, your decision. Go ahead, Kurt has another one from an op-ed piece in the New York
Yeah,
Times.
I just want you, this is such a great paragraph. Nicholas
Say
Chris,
where it's coming from.
what, yeah,
Yeah.
the
From
column,
the New York
Nick-
Times,
editorial page.
February 22nd.
Nicholas Christoph, what traffic girls think of Epstein. The police and prosecutors often have other priorities. I once visited Boston, the frightened parents of a 15-year-old ninth grader who ran away from home 3 months earlier. They were frantic, but the police hadn't been helpful. I pulled out my laptop in their dining room, and in 2 minutes, I found an online ad for a mixed Latina catering to your needs, with photos of a semi-nude girl. The mother screamed it was her daughter. Anyway,
Yeah. So that's where we left off last time. And by the way, we'll welcome Jim, Dr. Jim. Zagline is, if we did introductions, you'll have to wait. So that's where we left off last time, speaking of Epstein, was comparing and contrasting justice here in the United States as opposed to the way justice works in the United Kingdom. And in the United States, nobody seems to be being held responsible for Epstein and not. In the meantime, of course, and it's a rule that when I put out the flyer, that I didn't know there was going to be a war when I put out that notice that I sent all of you. So we could compare and contrast those legal systems, or we can also compare and contrast the evacuation of Kabul and Afghanistan under Biden, for which he has been roundly vilified, and the evacuation of civilians from the war zone around Iran by the Trump administration. But maybe we should start. Maybe we should start with Epstein, and then we'll open the second can of worms later. So, are you proud of the fact that in the United Kingdom the prince has been, arrested, and somebody else, another Mandel something has also been arrested? But here in the United States, who's been arrested?
Nobody.
But we need to clarify.
Okay.
The charges against the prince and the other individual have nothing to do with any sexual or abuse of women. It had to do with
Money.
evidence showing that they had shared,
Government.
catch this, top security documentation with Epstein, who had all of the boxes and boxes of unsecured security information in their bathroom in Mar-a-Lago.
That's
Well,
Trump.
yeah, and just the other
You're
day,
mixing Trump and
when he
Epstein.
was having the meeting at Mar-a-Lago and the map
Oh, yeah.
of all the ships and all
Oh, yeah.
the sites that they're thinking of hitting
Right.
were right there
Mhm.
behind him for public consumption.
And so what was Trump's big argument against Hillary? That Hillary
33,000
had this,
emails.
this server that in the end, who was it's the pot calling the kettle black.
I just find it interesting that nations are charging or moving forward due to the lack of formal control of documents, and that's not what our news media is even sharing. They're talking about, Epstein relationships in Europe and Denmark and Sweden, and even CEOs that have had some relationship with him are being affected, but they're not putting out the correct information. Because for me, for one, Trump is actually physically more guilty and has been proven that he absconded with documents and took them to Mar-a-Lago when he left office. And if you read any of Smith's report, which, by the way, the administration's trying to lock down and not allow people to see, would have just as big, just as severe an action of criminality as anything else. But our national media are not putting that. In fact, on the Sunday morning talk show, no one even brought any of that up. And so,
And why is that, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
all the
of fear
Yeah.
of relation,
Mark.
Yeah.
Well, it also
But
could be the bombardment of scandals on a minute-by-minute basis. You don't think that that's strategic on the part of the administration?
so it,
It's also that woman who's the judge in Palm Beach County.
Cannon.
And
Cannon.
so it's a dead end anyway, is unfortunately, for now. Until,
For now.
and this, I find again in the world of separation of church and state, taking cases to court, all the judges are aligned with Trump, all the judges are Republicans are aligned with DeSantis, and it's to no avail. It's a waste of time, waste of effort, waste of energy.
well, we saw that in Texas in the
Yeah,
voting last night.
yeah. Well,
So that was a Florida court going, no, and the Supreme Court going, keep moving.
yeah.
So,
I was listening to Rosie O'Donnell with Nicole Wallace the other day, and I think she's hit nail on head that the fact-checking is so wanting with our media. Why that is, I'm not sure, because it's been going on since before he started attacking all the networks. I was saying it at the first inauguration, when he was putting out the size of the crowd. And I'm like, why are we even giving this guy airtime? Like, this is what he feeds off of. Why are we doing this? And then I thought, well, you know, the journalists, they have to kind of inform, but where is that? Like, I don't even know how much information I want to hear. But the fact checking is awful.
Yeah, it's non-existent practically.
And it's been non-existent. I've never been able to wrap my brain around why that is. He says something.
What's happened to the news media?
Yeah.
It's because
You don't allow that.
rich billionaires who are Trump sycophants because they're getting all the money have told them no, they
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah, look what happened to
Yeah.
CBS. I mean,
And look what happened to ABC after the debate, right? And he
Right.
said, we have no reports of
right,
it.
you can't watch anything anymore and expect to get real news.
Incredible
Yeah.
reports.
It just
of that.
proves
And
that
it's about to get worse too, because Oracle is taking over CNN and CBS and a whole bunch of other stuff.
When you want to lie, you don't want to fact check it.
Right.
Yeah.
When you want to lie, and Trump wants to lie, so he's getting everybody to.
So why is,
So he
why
can't
are,
help
why
himself.
why are we, why is he able to get away with that? And with the non-transparency? I mean,
Because of the,
they're,
but she just
they're
said the
breaking
media
the
that
law with
owns
the
it.
Epstein file. You know
The
what I mean?
people who owned it, the ones from the top down, are his bosom buddies.
It's-
And they're
it's-
saying, no, we're not gonna do it. So they're now sending out the message, we're not, you know, fair, we're not doing equal time, we're not doing fair. Colbert did a whole thing on the fairness doctrine and equal time and when is they call upon that. He ended up putting his whole interview with, what's his name?
Tallarico.
Tallarico, almost said Tallahassee.
On YouTube.
Tallarico on the internet.
On YouTube.
And he got, I don't know, last count I heard was
Probably helped get him
11
elected,
million.
yeah.
It's probably way more than that now.
Well, it's like banning a book, right?
Yeah,
Like, the more you
exactly.
don't want them to
Yeah,
listen.
right,
And
it's
you're
just
just
right.
going right there to see what.
Hide it. And that's what's happening, I think, with a lot of groups, is they're following these little breadcrumbs and all these, the guy in Oregon, he's following the new stuff that came out, about Epstein with the drugs and all of that, and they're going actually through the DEA, you know, and he gave the point of, or Heather Cox Richardson said, you know, Capone was
was
put
the
in
taxes.
jail on tax evasion, you
The
know,
IRS guy.
so something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
The whole thing with this billionaire class, it's what he was talking about, the golden age. He's referring to the Gilded Age, which
Yeah.
was terrible for all the people.
Right.
But if you were rich,
Yeah.
you ran everything, you ran the governments. It was a really bad time. The late 1800s and the early 1900s were really
Is that the
bad.
robber barons?
Yeah,
Yes,
right,
exactly.
among
They're trying to
others,
think
yeah.
of a name for
That's
this
what they're
time. I think it
doing
has to have
now,
a-
and
Yeah.
you're not gonna hear any accountability because they own everything.
And
You
they're
have
all
to
in the
get it off
files.
the podcast.
Probably.
Yeah.
And he's got, he has got a fox in every hen house. So every department that wants to go after him is headed by somebody who's trying to blow up the whole department.
Right.
So it's like, we really don't have where to go, you know, at this point, unless we just vote them all out. That's the only
That's our,
chance we have, is to make
that-
sure we flip
and that's
it
happening.
at the midterms. And
Yeah.
yes, we're
Yeah.
headed in that direction.
Yeah, several incumbents.
Yeah.
But consider this. Right now, social media, influencers on all of the TikTok and YouTube and whatever have many times more viewership than the evening news.
Yes.
Pick one, ABC, NBC, CBS. And so I was watching several of them, which I prefer to do that other than watching ABC, NBC, because I know I'm not getting the full story. And they were talking about trying to reach out to, if you guys aren't following, the young woman that has evidence, she claims, of the exposure she had with Donald Trump.
The
And
13-year-old?
none of
13-year-old, yeah.
ABC, NBC, and CBS are willing to touch it. And so she is looking at going through these, you know, the Joe Rogan type
Right.
people, which have more viewership.
Right.
Their hope is by they communicating and putting this out there, it will force the news organizations
To dig
to
it.
own, to do that. And I don't know about the rest of you, I watched 60 Minutes on Sunday night?
Not
I
anymore.
got 15.
You should. This last one had 3 powerful stories that shined a light on the Trump administration at several different levels, and it was brutal. And I was like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
So the pushback is coming, especially after this. I think the empowerment is waning. We saw that in the elections last night. We saw that several Republican House of Representatives incumbents failed, didn't make it through their own primaries. But I believe what will happen in necessity of economics when a news story which is going to get millions of views, ABC, NBC, CBS, MS Now, are going to be forced to bring it up and talk about it because they're all in that same bucket of trying to survive beyond, and even the owners, the people you're talking about, Paramount and all of those, it's all about money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna argue the dominoes are lining up though.
Yeah.
I think that it's inevitable that the pendulum always swings if you look at the history of things. So, it's just like the comment of, we all thought, and even my wife was saying, oh no, that it was about the prince in Europe was because of his involvement with Epstein at the sexual harassment level. And it took me 2 minutes to pull it up to verify that the claim was document related, not sexual related.
But
But you didn't hear that.
could it be because they feel that that would be easier to prove,
Maybe.
and then at least,
Low hanging
gets...
fruit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. And why do you
Sounds
think
like
the Trump administration is working so hard through Eileen Cannon and others to squash all of the investigation that Smith did? Because I don't know if you guys remember, but before the election, the number one case that we heard over and over again, which was the one that was going to get him, was the document cases
Yeah.
in Mar-a-Lago,
Right.
because they had boxes of it.
Yeah. What happened to it?
He got,
She dismissed
he
it.
got
Yeah,
elected
yeah.
and they
Yeah.
dismissed it,
That judge, the one
That's
judge.
exactly what
squashed
happened.
everything.
Yeah.
which is
Ridiculous.
another opportunity for improvement of our system when we, and not if, but when,
God, you
The-
gotta run for something.
the
So even if
liberals-
you can't
Yeah.
do it here, you gotta run somewhere. Really?
the point is,
We need your voice.
Yeah.
We really do.
uh,
The
then
voice
be a
of
voice.
logic and
I'm
reason and research.
Well, it's pretty easy to just go, oh, what you just said is wrong. It's kind of like I was at city council on Tuesday, and I asked a very simple question to our representatives. Is the city of Palm Coast going to get any of the $750,000 that the federal government just gave our Flagler County sheriffs? And they looked at me like I was speaking Greek.
Really?
And I thought, well, wait a minute. We paid them $11 million in this year's budget on a contract
Right.
above and beyond your taxes. I think the city could do a lot with some of that money that we all keep saying,
And they didn't give you an answer?
oh no,
It wasn't awarded to the city.
No,
The city
there's-
has nothing. Yeah.
you will not normally get responses from.
Yeah.
But it's about putting forward, right, a conversation that gets everybody else to talk about. So,
Flagler County Fire Commissioner just got called on the carpet for corruption, and they're bringing a case against him.
yeah.
And I'm thinking,
Name of the game.
you know,
Yeah.
what
Uh,
else
uh,
is
it can-
afloat?
And again, look at how we're governed by realtors. Look at all the
Yeah.
realtors who are running and the realtors who are currently in office, and they have a vested interest. I would argue a corrupt interest in tearing down every tree and putting up houses.
I have a question, maybe more Kelsey answer to. Who's responsible for tracking whether Teresa gives that money back or not?
No one
She
of us.
said she was gonna give it
Yeah.
back. How do we find out if
Citizens.
she did?
Citizens.
She's running for office.
Yeah, she said she was
Then
gonna
we're
give it
gonna
back.
run
So I wanna know if she does.
Some of it.
Yeah.
Well,
5,000.
5,000 of the.
Right, I've been told it was more like 7.
Right, and yeah, that's what I heard too.
5,000 too much.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, so
Absolutely.
maybe you should explain the money, Teresa's money.
Well, my understanding is that it was a real estate developer who had brought before the commission a project he wanted approved, and that same realtor is one who made a donation to her campaign.
Yeah.
Not the campaign for her to run again here in Palm Coast, but for her to run as a commissioner in Flagler County.
Right.
So, really kind of suspicious, activity as far as most people are concerned. And it came up, and she said she would give it back.
Right.
Didn't change her
Yeah.
vote. I mean, she still voted, for the project. But
So
she-
Kathy,
The-
to
Yeah.
qualify,
More traffic in my
that
neighborhood.
donation was given to Teresa when she ran for city council office 4 years ago.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
Yes.
4 years ago.
But do you believe that to be unique?
No, not
Do
at
you
all.
believe- So there are lots of developers and realtors who are making campaign donations to our local politicians.
Another question.
It's
it
very-
came up
it's legal.
During the other podcast, which is, how much are they allowed to receive, donation-wise from individual citizens? Because Dee mentioned one
No,
number,
2,000.
and I don't think that was correct.
I don't know.
I think it's 2,000,
The 2,000?
if I recall correctly.
I know it's
2,000.
1,000 in kind donations, like they can't
Yeah.
accept
I
more
know
than
that
that.
it's different depending on what race you're involved with.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I, yeah.
City council and the county commissioner
Let me
and
get a list.
school board and all of those have limitations.
Yeah.
But the point that we should all be aware of is it's a moving, very fluid situation, and that if you care, do your due diligence and look it up and then verify it a couple times. I myself, in fact, I need to make a correction from our last meeting last week. I said that as taxpayers, paying in your taxes, you will never get more than you paid in. I was wrong.
Excuse me.
There are an abundance of low-income child credit, low-income credit, which are available if you qualify, that can give you cash back in your pocket above and beyond what you pay. So there are policies and there are processes to allow some members of the public to get back more than they paid in.
And does that apply to the school thing that they gave, giving them $8,000 per kid?
No,
Does that fall into that
that's all
bucket?
covered by property tax issues, not federal. I'm talking about federal income tax. Since we don't have a state income tax, so it's federal income tax. But we do pay through our property taxes, school board property taxes, money that goes into the Flagler County schools, which then sets aside, and I believe the number was, as Kathy Moon was learning, $17 million of our money was set aside to support the voucher program.
That's aside, by the way, from the tax credits that we all ultimately fund individually, but that's.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Private schools who employ teachers who don't have proper credentials, are not supervised. Again, I always cite in Pine Castle section of Orlando, the Orlando Sentinel reporter Leslie Postal wanted to talk to the principal of this private school that was receiving tons of voucher money and tons of scholarship money from the state, and never could reach that person until she contacted a certain secretary or administrator, and the says, "Oh, he's away. He's at classes at Valencia College." He says, "Oh, and what's he studying?" He says, "Oh, he's working on his AA." So that's a principal of a school, and all this money that's going to private schools, the scholarships, Step Up for Students, and so on, all is going to schools that have no requirements for their teachers and so on. We had a meeting with Janie Ruddy, who pointed out that the Imagine School which is not a private school, which is a charter school, but they have staffed themselves entirely with teachers who have been fired for incompetence from the Flagler County. So if you get fired from Flagler County, you can go over to the
Nowhere
Imagine
to go.
School and go over to the Imagine School and so on.
And we're
So,
paying.
yeah, and we are paying for it. We are paying, if, it would turn your hair gray if you
It's not like
knew
that
what
don't
we
get
were
the
paying
money-
for.
It's not like that we don't get the money back from these kids. Now they're offering them the opportunity to use space in schools
That's
that
right.
were already paid for.
That's a charter schools, yeah, charter schools that
Crazy.
Imagine is part of a series of schools with a headquarters in Chicago, and it's a corporate entity, and there's questions about how Colleen Conklin, who's just was finished with the education, was an excellent member of the Board of Education, just didn't want to run again, was sick and tired of it. But they have some kind of tax deal and ownership in the end. Whenever Imagine School, if it were to be liquidated, much of the money would go to the corporation in Chicago, not to we, the taxpayers, who paid for it. That's another, okay. Yeah.
Nothing to see there.
Can I,
Yeah, go ahead, Kurt. Go ahead. And then,
I have a-
and then we'll talk about the other stuff. Go ahead.
anyway, because I really believe that income inequality is the second or the first biggest problem that we have. Climate change being the other. But income inequality gets these Bitcoin people, billionaire Bitcoin people, they don't live in the United States, or they want to establish their own society. There's one been going down on Roatan, if anybody has been there, a wonderful place to go and dive, but that's what we think of the Caribbean, not establish a society. But Roatan's one, and here's another one on Nevis.
Heard of that?
Nevis
and,
And St. Kitts.
and St. Kitts are the two islands opposite the island that did the first salute.
Yeah.
Who's got my book of the first salute? No, no.
Okay. So that takes us to a part of the world. The question is, why did we attack Iran now? And the one theory that I'm eager to hear from you about says that, of course, what happened in Venezuela was a boondoggle because its oil is too expensive to reconstitute its oil industry, to refine the heavy crude that comes out of the ground in Venezuela, that also it's an unstable country and so on. And oil was $60 a barrel. And so by starting a war in Iran and closing the Straits of Hormuz, all of a sudden, then this morning, I believe oil is $75 or $80 a barrel. And it becomes worthwhile to reconstitute Venezuela. So rather than making Venezuela look like a failure, that Venezuela will then provide and be a profitable endeavor. Does that sound like a reasonable motivation for this war in Iran?
Don't forget Ecuador. Don't forget Ecuador.
Ecuador as well. Yes, exactly.
And doing a little dive on Ecuador, there in 2024, 59% of the population, I think Ecuador is 18 million people, something like that, voted to ban oil drilling in this preserve. To date, nothing's been done to stop it, but you can see what's going to happen. It's never going to happen. And the people that are impacted are indigenous Ecuadorian people who have no rights. And so now you're going to have more Ecuador who has...
Petrodollars will
Yes,
be the
they-
governing
yeah,
factor and not
follow-
what's best for the people.
Follow the
Follow-
oil.
or the
Yeah.
environment.
Or the environment, yeah.
Follow the oil.
Yeah.
So are we ever going to tax these people?
Ever what?
Are we
Everybody
ever going to
wants these
tax
billionaires,
these people, the
almost
billionaires?
trillionaires.
No.
No, so the Carla Pontieri down here locally applies on a much larger level as well.
Right, absolutely.
And so particularly after Citizens United, but I don't know whether it doesn't apply in Ecuador, but they give donations to contributions to their campaign, and then one hand washes the other, one You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and in the end, and do not forget that corporate officers' first obligation is to their shareholders, okay, to increase shareholder value, and not to take care of the environment or care about the
Employees.
citizens or the indigenous residents of the preserve. Doesn't work that way.
But lobbying is legal.
Absolutely. And
Corporations are people.
you know,
So, I mean, you know, face
and so, yeah.
reality.
So how many legislators in Tallahassee?
8.
No, I'm talking about the Senate is what, 30 or 45 or something, and the State House of Representatives is another 60 or something like that. And how many lobbyists? 12,000. And by the way, Palm Coast has a lobbyist. Flagler
Yes,
County has a
right.
lobbyist.
It's legal.
Yeah. And
It's absolutely
so there's
legal.
lobbyists overwhelm, and the push for change in for term limits and so on means that the lobbyists have lots of experience and know all the issues, while the legislators come in and we have some Kathy Logan is her name, who worked in Washington D.C. and talked about how clueless U.S. Congress people are. They rely on their staff and they rely on lobbyists and what they tell because they can't keep up with it all.
I know I said this, I think at this meeting before. I know for a fact in California, lobbyists write the bills.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just the fact of life.
Absolutely.
You're a House representative or something, here's the bill, you know, look it over, if you like it, vote on it. But the lobbyists pretty much write the bills.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because I was watching the Hillary Clinton, because she's a fireball, brilliant. And I love the fact that when Boebert opened her mouth and started asking stupid questions, Jimmy Kimmel pointed out
Yeah. Yep.
that she just recently got her GED
Right?
in her
Oh,
at the age of like
34
30-something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we vote in and put people in place with no understanding of the skill set
Yeah.
or ability of them. And to have those two in a conversation showed how dramatically ineffective some of these elected officials are, or even understand what is happening.
Yeah.
For her to bring up Pizzagate and talk about all of the terrible things that were happening in that business's basement, not realizing that it doesn't have a basement. It's never had a basement. So facts are waning and people are all showboating, and the Republican representatives today are worried. We saw it last night. And I think that this is a great time of activity and visibility and conversation.
Well, welcome Kathy Moon, by the way, is running for school board, and we've had discussions about the difference between being an effective candidate and being an effective office holder. And of course, people like Lauren Boebert, effective office holder, not so much, but effective candidate, they're out there, and unfortunately, we elect people who are great candidates, who have no idea what they're doing. And maybe Ronald Reagan, I love Back to the Future, where it says, you know, oh, no wonder you have an actor as a president, because everybody's got a TV camera, and that's what it takes. But, so he had a good TV presence, a great communicator. Could he fulfill the obligations of the office? I have questions. So,
how does someone
case in
without even
point.
a high school degree
yeah.
get to be a candidate?
Really, I don't
Oh,
understand that at all.
it is a great country. Any idiot can be, can be a.
That's what H.L. Mencken said 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time
Yeah.
before we elected
Yeah.
an idiot. And that was the
Joe
president.
has something he wants.
The question is whether, and Trump always calls it Wharton School is really a graduate school, not an undergraduate, but he says it's a graduate. Did Donald Trump really earn a BA from Wharton School of Economics at the University of Pennsylvania? Is he also?
Earn is questionable.
Yeah, right. Well,
A case
Go-
in point, right here
Joe.
in Palm Coast. Woman, I forget her name, stood on the corner of Palm Coast Parkway and Old Kings waving signs. Waving signs. She was waving signs all the time, waving signs. She got elected.
Yeah.
Supervisor of elections. I
Weeks
think, right?
was her name.
And as far as I know, right now she's in jail.
Yeah.
But the only way,
Kimberly Weeks.
she was at least charged.
Kimberly
you
Weeks,
know.
I think.
But that's all she did.
Yeah.
2010,
Yeah.
2015,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
Kim Weeks.
She came out of nowhere and just was there every day. And so people saw her and said, hey, she must be okay.
Yeah. It's
That's how she got elected.
the
She was
government.
terrible in her job, but she got elected.
So there's the argument. Should we encourage lots of people? Should we encourage lots of people to go and vote, or should we say to the dumber people? I didn't call them dumber people, but to the
you
people
can't
that
do that,
low
yeah.
information. No, stay home. Let us who read newspapers and watch the
That's
news.
basically what we're saying.
Yeah, yeah,
That's basically what one of the two parties is saying.
yeah. Exactly, exactly.
We know better. We'll take care of it. Don't worry, stay home.
And we believe politicians should choose their voters rather than voters choose their politicians. That's the essence of gerrymandering. So, good time for a war in Iran? Not a good time for a war in Iran.
Well,
Never a good time for a war.
Okay.
No. Well, I also, what hasn't really been talked about, as far as I've seen, is the whole real estate angle. I mean, today somebody did mention Jared, but I'm thinking,
Yep.
could that have been in the back of his mind too? Like, thinking he's calming everything down, which indeed it seems like all the administration did was kick a hornet's nest
Yeah.
without a plan.
Well, they've
Yeah.
been trying for 30 years to start that, to get him to
Yeah.
start a war, and he's the only one dumb enough to do it.
Yeah, he really is easily manipulated.
The whole plan is for them to try to blow up.
Meanwhile, let's back out
Yeah.
of the,
Yeah, we finally got out of it,
Nuclear,
extricated ourselves, and now what?
in 2018, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a Rachel Maddow fan.
really?
Well,
Yeah.
You're
He's
not
even
in the
more
ex-
cynical.
you're an
He's
exception to
He's
the
much.
rule.
yeah, she never gets to the
Remember,
point.
Joe is
But
our PhD
anyway,
in cynicism.
No.
Yeah.
She's more cynical than I am.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
But when she said,
It's a
if I say
it's a
it,
competition.
if I say it, I'm cynical. If she says it, she's not cynical. Follow the money.
Oh,
Look at the
yeah.
countries
Always,
and
Yeah.
look at all the bribes that Trump got from all these countries. People were going to war with Iran.
Yeah.
And then start splitting it up with the Sunni and Shia and
Where are his
It's
hotels
all-
going?
Yeah.
Leave the root of all evil.
and we're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you know.
Shutting down the electric car industry is
Yes,
another because
exactly.
we want to use more oil. Kurt, go ahead. You have to raise your hand.
The abundance agenda. Who's heard of the abundance agenda?
Heard of it. Go ahead.
Abundance.
I hadn't heard of it either,
explain
but
it.
this magazine brought it
Yeah.
to my attention. It's based on the book by Abundance by Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson. And that, what we're talking about is so much money is sloshing around. And the agreement with the right wing is that we need to build more houses. And just look at Palm Coast.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. The abundance agenda is building more houses.
But nobody can afford
Yeah,
that.
but
No,
right,
exactly,
and the shipping hit,
exactly.
try to get as many people out of the country as possible
one's
to
building,
reduce the
actually.
population.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with all the extra houses?
Well, they're
Who's gonna
Find people to put in.
yeah, they're concerned that we're reproducing at the rate of 1.8 children per couple, or something along those lines. So
Well,
there's
it's
supposed,
gotta be
it's supposed to be a
that.
big,
That has got to be
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
But,
don't know what it used to be, but
yeah.
it sounds like very low to me.
It is. It's certainly below 2.1, which is reproducing at the rate.
Right.
That, we're not, so we have birth rate that equals the rate at which we're dying to replace it.
You know, also, I think you can't.
My mother
lose-
never got that memo. She
No.
had 7.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't lose sight of the fact that Peter Thiel and a bunch of other people really believe in what they're doing,
Oh, yeah.
that there is a group that knows more than the common people, and they are destined to rule in their own way. And I think that we overlook that so much. But it's really a cadre of people
I don't know if it was.
that
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah,
pushing
yeah, you think so?
their will on this country. And who is going to stand? Trump
think
might
that's
be
a-
the
that's a
front of
new
it, but who's
notion.
gonna go against
I don't
it?
think that's a new notion,
No.
though. I think
No, I was
that's
thinking that
probably,
same
Well,
thing, that goes
yeah.
way
that's
back.
been,
Right, you
yeah,
go back
when,
to
Renaissance
anytime that the
times.
people were rising up and the
thousands
elite
of
was saying,
years
ah.
ago, there were,
It happened in our country repeatedly, when the southern elite, you know, when the black,
The
they were banned from voting, not because they were black, but because they were poor. What do they know about what's best?
So how did the era of Gilded Age end? How did the age of the robber barons
they know?
end?
Great
Or
Depression.
did it end? How did
Historian, you haven't.
Yeah.
I think it
chime
went
in
like
on
did
this.
that
every
end?
time we get Republicans in, we go into some kind of a recession,
Yeah.
whether it's just a little one or the Great Depression,
Right.
and we're heading big time right now. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, where do you expect gas prices to stop, by the way? 350?
Did they go up to
375?
11 cents
Yeah, today,
from
yeah.
Saturday
I heard it's
to-
gonna be
to
20.
Tuesday or
Yeah.
Monday, I
Yeah.
think I went.
From yesterday to today, it went up 10 cents.
Yeah.
Well, they
All
had
across
done
the
that
board.
already, so I filled up,
Well,
but
Up yesterday.
I never spent.
In West
$3.
Virginia, they went up 40
I
cents.
spent $3.19, but everywhere else was $3.29, and that was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, somebody at the table named Mark has put out an email the other day saying, you should buy
On
gas.
Facebook.
On
yeah.
Monday morning,
I
I'm
was
driving,
there yesterday,
driving
like
to
that.
Buy
Gulfport.
gas now, yeah.
It's 289.
That- won't
I
see
said,
that
oh, I
again,
should
huh?
get gas,
Bought gas the
but
other
I'm
day.
running late,
Yeah,
so I said I'll get it on the way back. On the way back, it was 319.
Yeah.
I got it
Exactly.
today, it's 329.
Nine, exactly, yep.
I got it at
So we're- so
Costco
that's-
I got it
on
at
Sunday.
TJ's yesterday.
I should
So-
have listened to
north
Mark.
for $2.56.
But we're just staving off the inevitable.
Yeah, right, in the end,
Yeah,
and this is pushing us
as
into
long
a,
as the gas tank lasts.
this will push us into a recession.
Well,
And you
it's already
can,
like
anecdotally find playing it cheap, but in the end, the price is rising. People will not be able to afford to drive as much, and those who drive won't have as much money for groceries, not that they have a lot for that either. And in the end,
Some of this has
we're,
already
yeah,
started.
yeah, yeah. So,
Grinding halt.
Yeah.
My
So
husband said he picked up milk the other day. We usually buy a gallon of milk.
Mm.
I noticed a couple of months ago, milk went down. It was around $4.80 or $4.50 at Publix, I can't remember. And then all of a sudden it was $4. I'm like, wow.
Milk's on its own.
Something.
Yeah.
It's
And
always
he
been
said
on
he
its
paid
own.
over $6.
Yeah, yeah.
The other day, I'm like, what? Oh, okay, so we're gonna lower it down, then we're gonna jack
Dump
it
it
up.
right on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And
I
how
don't
long?
buy milk at Publix usually.
And let's close with a prediction of how long will this war last? What's the end game? What's that? We've heard 7 different goals.
Well, he definitely
Regime
wants us to
change,
stop talking
oil.
about Epstein.
You have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
define
Number one
what
reason, I
Yeah.
think.
the end looks
Yeah,
like.
but he
Okay.
gets bored, right? Didn't he get bored with Venezuela? Like he goes, like he just says, I won,
Yeah.
Well,
Iran published pictures
walk
of
away. You
tunnels
can't do that over.
just filled with drones.
I think
I mean,
about-
as far almost as the
Yeah,
eye
they-
can see in this tunnel.
They've been supplying.
And then there was another tunnel too.
They've been
he's gonna
supplying.
wanna
And these
walk
are
away
big
from it,
drones,
be able to-
Yeah.
drones that can carry a bomb.
I think to answer that question, you have to ask Netanyahu.
Yeah, think so? Okay.
Yeah.
Think
Yeah, but
so?
Oh,
hadn't
sorry.
Iran been at war with Israel for
Yeah.
the last forever?
47
But
years.
we got bigger
I mean,
guns.
as far as
They
like,
already bought us off, so we got bigger guns.
They're-
That's
they're-
why they wanted us involved, and that's how they got him involved, because we got bigger stuff.
But we don't have any interceptors, right?
I
That's what
believe-
We're running out,
Yeah, we're
so
right.
yay.
I believe in Marco Rubio, only in the sense that before a lot of this happened, he announced and then was brutally attacked by his own party that Israel told us, this is what he said.
No, I know.
Right, yeah.
Israel told
That
the
they're
U.S.
not, yeah.
they were going in,
Right.
this was the best time to take out the leadership of Iran, which
Sounds like a regime
it's
change.
been proven that the weaponry that was used to take out the leadership in Iran came from Israel initially in
Did
the
we sell
first.
it to them?
Yeah.
Oh, we sell it to
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
The point I'm making was Rubio said we had to partner and get involved because Israel is incapable, just by the numbers, of taking out all the potential offensive weaponry that Iran has, which would have been much more brutal on all of the outlying camps and bases and other facilities.
But a projected problem is not an imminent
problem.
threat.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
Still have
it
to-
bore out to be true.
There's one thing, this Ray W. that comments a lot on Flagler Live. He had a comment the other day, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the guy's a retired lawyer, retired judge, I'm not sure. And he said he doesn't know if this is true or not. But in the Iraq-Iran war, Iraq defeated Iran using chemical weapons. Supposedly, there is a verse in the Quran that says you can defend yourself, but you can't get beyond a certain point in the weaponry or tactics that you use. And the Ayatollah at the time would not allow Iran to develop chemical weapons. They lost the war because they didn't do it. So did the Ayatollah that was just killed, did he okay a change to that procedure and say we can do nuclear weapons? Or has the whole thing been, I'll be a little cynical, has the whole thing been a smokescreen that Iran is not developing nuclear weapons because religiously they're told that's overkill and they shouldn't do it? So I don't know what's true, but it's just something to think about.
It's something to think about by the people who are still looking for weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
right.
Colin Powell said they were there,
Is
right?
there a difference
The
in the Quran
WMDs.
between the Shia and the
Yeah,
Sunni?
yeah.
There is?
There is, yeah. And that's part of the dynamics that
Yeah, that's
Iran is Shia, Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states are Sunni,
Sunni,
and they,
right.
they don't get along
Historical.
anyway. Yeah, I mean it's a complicated mess, much more complicated than you get covered by David Muir or whomever.
What are the
you know.
differences, sort of basically?
Tribal, right?
Yeah, tribal, but Shia is much more anchored in the tradition and in the literal word of the Quran, where Sunni is open to interpretation and so on.
Kind of like Orthodox.
I was just thinking that.
So Shia are much more orthodox, Sunni.
But
Much more
y'all know
liberal.
that Russia is sending them missiles already.
Yeah, well, by the way, all those drones from
Drones,
Iran
you saw
have
that.
been sold to Russia to use against Ukraine.
Right.
It's
What goes around.
Yeah, and so, by the way, so you see how complex it is, and trying to discern what's going on by watching the news from 6:30 to 7 really isn't it. I would recommend, it's not Peter Beinart, I forgot who wrote the book, The Closing of the American Mind, and which already talked about this is 20 years ago, the fact that networks were stripping down their news departments and there wasn't enough money to pay people to fact check and to be careful and so on. And so what we get is a bunch of baloney, and it takes a lot of digging to find out what the real truth
I
is.
just can't get over, like, I can't forget that situational dinner the night of Barack Obama's his first inauguration with all those, Republican cronies, sitting around.
Yeah, at the
And
Washington
I feel like
Hotel,
that's
yeah.
happening on like an hourly basis right now,
yeah.
where they're all going, well, if this happens, then we can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're just, no matter what happens, they're going to be able to use it to an advantage.
And does anybody think there's an independent thinker in the Republicans in Congress? I don't think so. It got me. What do they call it? Somebody call it Congress is the most constipated constipated
Marjorie
government
Taylor
institution. Yeah.
For the record,
By the way,
I enjoyed watching Tom Tillis go after Christy
Yes.
Nolan.
Yeah.
But that goes to show when you're not running for office,
Right.
hence
Exactly.
term limits would be pretty beneficial to allow the free thinkers to call it for what it
We have
is.
a lot of people to get rid of on our side.
Well,
that
absolutely.
need
Yeah,
to come,
absolutely.
They're ancient.
It goes for both.
Much of the things that we point out that they do, when we're in power, we do as well. And that's the whole system is
Much smarter to
Problem.
what Merle's saying, much smarter than me.
no.
So the answer to this, Right, we get all our news and, you know, 10 seconds, it's over. Deep reading.
Yeah,
Yes.
We have to go back to deep
reading.
reading.
Yeah.
And avoid the dot-coms.
And critical
You can't take
thinking.
anything
yeah.
at face value.
And avoid the
Yeah.
dot-com.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
go to the
right.
.org, .edu, .sci, .gov, one of those.
So everybody go and read
Sanitize.
between now and next Wednesday and come back with a new understanding and share it with us and
We're
we'll
more confused.
float it together. We'll work it. By the way, so nobody said this would be easy. Nobody said maintaining a democracy is easy. Nobody said the electoral process is easy. It takes breaking a sweat.
It's
But
messy.
if we want to understand what it is, and that's the problem, and why we were all self-selected and so unusual. Again, I suspect that it's true that the average voter in the Flagler elections will have a lot of trouble finding Iowa on a map. Kathy and I have looked at if you ask the parents, typically if you ask the parents of, if you ask Flagler County voters whether or not they think they should fund schools that teach Arabic numerals, 59% will say no.
Do they know
Yes.
what they don't know what
No,
they-
of course, no, they haven't a clue.
But Roman numerals are okay.
Well, but by the way, but Latin letters, they were not so happy with either. And so we need to have an epidemic. We need to infect everybody with a desire to learn and to gain some information. And let's all do that and come back next week.
Well, before we end, I want to remind everybody, there is a city survey available. They do it every 2 years. You can find it on the website of the new app. You can Google it and just go Palm Coast 2026 City Survey.
Can you post a link in
I
conversation?
can do that.
Yeah.
It closes on March 15th.
The eyes
No, it's a March.
And then they will
Happy
post
birthday.
grudgingly, after I mentioned it at the city meeting, for actions of what the citizens need to be speaking to our elected officials on the priority of things that are important to you. I've done it. It's a deep dive. It goes into a lot of questions about a lot of different things, from streetlights to the quality and safety of your roads, to traffic, to building development and those kind of things. So it's a voice you have. In the 2024, which I pulled it up, less than 1,500 people actually used the survey. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So go out, look at it, take it, participate. That's all I got.
And if there's anything out there in addition to the vote, because I'm getting really verklempt about our elected officials, our Congress abdicating their power.
Yep.
If there's anything that anybody knows, like constitutionally, that can be brought up or said or done to light a fire under their butts to get going and do their job.
Throw them out in
you know what I
November.
mean? Because I feel like when they disrespect Congress, or, you know, the people that go and testify or yell at the Congress, they're yelling at me. They're disrespecting me. And when they're not, and then all we're doing, you know, all the Congress is doing is just giving over even more power and authority.
There was a
to
time
the
many years
executive
ago when
branch.
even Pam Bondi was on our
I
ballot
don't
to running
okay
for
that.
Attorney General.
You know,
Yeah, we need to be more discerning, and we
There
need to vote, and we need to throw the bums out.
There are representatives.
At any rate,
and-
we have run.
I'll say it when we're
Yeah, okay. Everybody's got one more. Everybody's got one more word, and we'll never finish. But hold those thoughts and bring them back to these tables next Wednesday. We thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank Suncoast Media for turning this into a podcast. Everyone be safe. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Yes.
Right as it says, look up the abundance agenda.
5:30?
Look up the closing of the American mind.
It is at 6:30, it's, you know, it's a quick eight.